Okay, this is going to be my first attempt at binding the little quad. First of all, you see I've got a USB fan. This is a small $10 cheap fan, and I've got it angled and blowing right on the platform. One of the problems with a lot of these things, I hate to say problem frequently, but when this is powered up, even from the USB cable, the video transmitter is enabled. I don't know about the camera quite yet. I'll know that after I try some things, but it starts getting warm and it can burn it up. So I bought this a long time ago, and I just let it kind of blow on the platform here on the bench. That keeps a lot of things from getting destroyed. Just want to say something about that before others tried it. So I've got my TX16S here ready to bind. I'll just set that right there. And the way I'm told this works is we plug in the USB again. I'm going to set that down so the fan can blow on it nicely. We look up at the screen here, and I'm just going to look at a couple of things real quick. Let's see. Look at receiver. Of course, we don't have anything there yet. Configuration. And we'll scroll down in configuration. And here's our receiver right here. Oops. And you can see it says serial based receiver. If we click this chiclet, we can see S-bus, all sorts of, can't completely read that. It's not a PPM. Again. PWM. MSP. I'm going to set that down so the fan can blow on it nicely. And look at this. We look up at the screen here. That may mean I can get some telemetry. I'm just going to look at a couple of things real quick. And then within that subgroup of serial-based receivers, we have all these receiver we could do for spectrum. Of course, we don't have anything there yet. Configuration. There's another spectrum down. We'll scroll down in configuration. And here's our receiver right here. Oops. I ordered mine Crossfire. I didn't know it was going to come. You can see it says serial-based receiver. So what I'm going to click this chiclet, we can see here. I'm going to put my S-bus, all sorts of. Can't completely read that. Radio transmitter. And it's not a PPM, PWM, MSP, SPI. This is what it should be for me. And look at this. I can do CRSF. That may mean I can get some telemetry back. Execute. And then within that subgroup of serial-based receivers, go back up to the screen, we have all these selections we can do for spectrum. And say bind. Looks like there's another spectrum down here. There's a free sky F port. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit hopefully this is all set up for you. Like I ordered mine Crossfire. I didn't know it was going to come CRSF, but it did. So RX not supported. Is that supposed to be caps? Nope. Well, I guess we'll back up and punt, I guess. Help. go into the CLI and say bind underscore RX.
Damn.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit execute on the transmitter. Binding in progress, and then hit enter on the keyboard. Oh, great.
Oh, well.
Bind underscore RX not supported. Is that supposed to be caps?
Oh, well. I guess I back up and punt again and look up some more information on the internet. Okay. Well, this is pretty frustrating.
Yes,
I went out on the internet, and I guess the bind underscore RX function of Betaflight doesn't work because this is a Crossfire RC receiver. I'm not sure. There's just so little information on this. So I looked underneath, and you can kind of see through the bottom, barely, the Crossfire receiver on the bottom.
Bind underscore RX.
Seems to be a bind button right in this area.
Bind underscore RX.
But
damn.
I usually use my bamboo skewer, the old technician's trusty standby for electronics technician. Just a wooden bamboo skewer for shish kebabs. We use them to tap on tubes in the old days, everything.
I guess
I couldn't get that to touch the bind button in there.
And
because of this little piece of plastic right here where the battery holder is. The angle, I just couldn't get it in there, through the front here. So I ended up, as frequently happens for me, I'm usually tossed in the briar patch alone. I ended up opening it up so I could get to that bind button. And of course here's the camera in the top connected here. I could pull that off, but I don't want to. I'm not sure how that would balance the whole circuit board. Anyway, after taking the two screws out of the flight controller board, I can't lift the flight controller up very far to get to that bind button. You can see, that's because of the 4 ESC plugins for the motor. I could unplug these and pull the board out, probably get on the bind button. I'm just not sure I want to do that because circuit wise, don't know if these need to be in the circuit on the ESC controller. I guess I can do it for a second so I can actually look at the board. So I am going to disconnect the camera connector gently, set that aside. I'm going to mark the front of the quad. Guess I'll just put a little mark right here. That's the front. Make sure, yeah, that's the front. So if I unplug these connectors for the ESCs, I mean the motors, it is to the ESCs, but it's the motor connectors. Ooh, tight. I'll be able to plug them back in the way they were. 68-year-old man working with such small parts is not fun. Okay, of course, yeah, the last one wants to be really stubborn. Probably wants to break one of the 3 wires rather than, or pull the connector off the circuit board. No, look, it came loose. Not usually my luck. So the battery connector is run through the back here. Okay. And that it's the TBS antenna that's in the way now, right here, that would need to come through this way. Okay, gently. Okay, shoot. Set the frame and the 4 motors aside. So here's the little flight controller. Don't want to touch it too much. And there's the Crossfire receiver. That's a little Nano. Exactly what I've been working with recently. Here's the ground, whoops, ground power, and then the CRSF transmit and CRSF receive. So this is the bind button. So I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in a USB to the thing. I assume USB power will be able to let it bind. There's the USB power plugged in. Then I'm going to set it on the work surface. There was a lot of videos on internet and stuff to show you how to bind the Free Sky version.
Welcome to OpenTX.
Of this, but none really on the Crossfire version. Wow, go figure. Go back in here and get my radio ready to bind again. Okay, now I'm not sure this is going to work. This is just my drop back and punt when I couldn't find anything on the internet. I'm keeping this in this fan, and I'm going to try to use the flat side of my bamboo stick to hold down the bind button while I plug in the USB cable, oops, to my computer, which I just slipped off the bind button. Okay, let's get this ready. Whoops. Okay. Okay. Oops. Dang it. It's hard to do all this at the same time. I need my wife here who could help, but she doesn't like to help. Okay. And I can't feel the bind button going down anymore. There we go. Okay, go back with the flat side. Ah, okay, I'll use the pointed side if I have to. There we are. We're holding down the bind button. Now we plug in the USB. Oh, that's what I want. We hit binding in progress on the radio. Hopefully that's what's going on. The back button claims we're binding. It could be updating the firmware. Crossfire does that without even really telling you, which is good. So I'm going to set this up right here. Make sure my flight controller stays in that stream of air from the fan. And just hope the bind is in progress. It appears to me that it is from this little green flashing light on the Crossfire receiver. Over here, it really doesn't tell me that anything's happening, so I'll just let it sit here for a while and see what occurs. Okay, I started it over, and you can see right now it's updating the receiver. It's at 22%, 25, 26. So I did it a little differently and did get it going. So right now it's binding.
I followed the procedure right here on the BETAFPV support site. I'll put the link up here to the URL in the YouTube video, but I just turned around and used this procedure. Power on the receiver first, press the receiver button on the receiver, the green LED will flash slowly, choose bind on the radio transmitter, and then follow this. So basically I powered up, plugged in the USB, sorry about that noise in the background, plugged in the USB, pushed this little bind button on the Crossfire Nano receiver, and then initiated the bind on the TX16S transmitter.
I hate being thrown in the briar patch. Okay. But I can usually work it out. Lots of experience with electronics helps me work through the problems. I just didn't find any YouTube videos or anything on how to bind this thing. For the Crossfire version, Free Sky version, sure, 94, 95%. RX is loading, don't interrupt. So I will let it sit here and finish this. I've been through this many times with Crossfire receivers, I'm just gonna shut up and wait till we get to the end of this one. Okay, we have binding okay on the radio. Enter to execute. Oops. I shouldn't have done that. I should have.
Telemetry lost.
Yes, I'm sure it is. Return to cancel.
RF signal.
Okay.
Critical. Telemetry recovered.
Okay. That's cool. Well, sounds like I am getting telemetry. Instead of enter to execute, I should do return to close because I did bind. Okay, I'm bound. I got a solid green light over here. I know everything's cool. I'm going to power this board down. Like I say, I know a lot about electronics, but I don't know anything about this board specifically.
Telemetry lost.
Yes, I know. We'll power down the transmitter too. Again, that's going to be cool that I can get some kind of telemetry back to the TX16S from this platform. I just think that's great. Oops. I keep knocking these little vibration dampeners like this one right here. I knocked the front one off. Now I have to look around. Where did it go? It's so little in light, the fan will blow it away. Anyway, as I was saying, I don't know whether or not this motor being in the circuit on this controller board in the ESCs is part of the balance of the electronics, and that it's damaged if they're not plugged in while it's powered up. That's something the designer of this board and other engineers who know this board would know. So I'm just going to power it down as quickly as possible, put it back together, and then we'll see how the bind went. And then I have to find, oh, here it is. These little things are so small and light. We'll put that back on the front again. So it won't be lost. There we go. Okay, let me put this thing back together real quick. Okay, things are a little tight here. We'll do something about that a little later. I got it all back together. We'll plug it back in to the USB.
Telemetry recovered.
Again, the fan is on it. I can't stress this enough. They have to be cold. The video transmitter's on now. I'm not going to complain. Okay, let's go up to the screen and open Betaflight. Come on, click. And connect. And let's go over here and go down to receiver. And I'm going to push the fan out of the picture. You know it's there. Just know it's there. It's very important. And then I'm going to try to move this radio over just a little bit more. Okay. Now I'm on the right stick and I move it to the right. Oh, look. Hey. Aileron roll moves with my input. Pitch forward and backwards. The E, the second channel, moves forward, goes up, backwards goes down. May have to reverse some of these, we'll see. Now if we move over to the left stick, left and right is yaw, and the left stick throttle up and down works. We'll go and look at one of our switches here that we set for arm, and it does not work. This was set for mode. That does not work. This one was set for beeper. That does not work. The reason for that is it wasn't set up in the radio. This has nothing to do with the quad, Betaflight, or anything. This has to do with the TX16S. The default setup for a quadcopter is what I put in here as a new model and just renamed it here, as you can see on the screen. That sets up basically channels 1 through 4, but does not set up the rest of the channels on the radio. So the aux1, which would be my arm and disarm, doesn't work, so throttle doesn't work either. Does on the screen, if you see. So the input's being put to the platform, but this doesn't work. So I will fix that, and then we'll come back in and visit this one more time. Thank you.